continue our talks on Peter Taurot, the martyr from Papua New Guinea. It is said of him by the chief who succeeded his father as chief, Peter Taurot's whole life was an expression of faith, hope and love. He was straightforward, humble and fought evil in every way. Charity was his outstanding virtue. Peter Taurot's commitment to his work as a catechist was quite extraordinary. You're with Mission Alive, and this is Roger from the MSC Mission Office. I'm reading from, and one of the sources for Peter Taurot is this little booklet, which we have here in the Mission Office, written by my predecessor, Father Adrian Meany, MSc, and it's quite a good little book about his life and all that happened to him. We also have a prayer card with a prayer on the back praying for his canonisation, and we have a larger poster size picture of him, and we have all these available from the Mission Office. Peter Taurot was married at the age of 24, if I have the right piece of paper in front of me, and he had 3 children himself, and his last child was born only just before his death. So Peter was catechist and continued to work as a catechist, and then the Japanese came in the war, in the early 1940s. So, and when the Japanese arrived, they removed all the missionaries from their posts, but allowed the catechist to continue to work and allowed the pastoral activity of the catechist to continue. So Peter was responsible then for the life of the people in the village in terms of their spiritual life and for the life of the parish and the upkeep and the running of the parish. So he continued to instruct people to baptize especially babies and older converts, and to witness marriages, to do burials, and to distribute communion to people at a Sunday service. So he continued that work under the Japanese, with the priests were away. And he visited the missionaries where they were imprisoned, first at Vunapopi, and then later in the tunnels at Ramali, the Ramali camp. And he would bring them food, he would bring them information of the parishes, so the priests could keep up to date, and no doubt they would give him instructions or advise him to go on his way, and he would take with him the consecrated hosts for communion. So he continued in that way for quite some time while the Japanese occupation was there. He was at times questioned by the Japanese. They pulled him in with some other people, including his chief and other catechists. The Japanese questioned them, reminding them that they were under observation, but the work continued. There were some partial restrictions as time went on, and in 1944 there was a total prohibition for all the activities. This was at a time when the Japanese, the tide of war was turning against the Japanese, and they were beginning to lose, so they put more pressure and more oppression on the people. So the partial, in 1944, in March 1944, the partial prohibition of religious activities were replaced by a total prohibition, which was made official when the chiefs, catechists and the Methodist catechists were summoned to the police to be informed of this. They were told that all practices of the Christian religion, even previously tolerated prayer meetings in small groups, were forbidden. One local witness, Otto Touve, said the Japanese alleged Christian prayers were slowing up a victorious end to the war for them. The Japanese believed that because the people practiced their religion so conscientiously, God was seeing fit to no longer favour the Japanese. So these restrictions were placed on the catechist and everybody, and at that time then Peter immediately did not accept this Japanese law. And as we go a bit further, we'll see what happened after that. It reached this stage where there was a clampdown on all prohibition. And in this, again, Peter Taurot was called to this work in the church, and he continued his work under these difficult circumstances. And this was very much mission alive. Because of people like Peter Taurot and others, the mission might have died. If the Japanese had won the war and stayed on, then it would have been a very different history. But people like Peter Taurot continued their work with great faith and strength. This is the mission. Thank you for being with us.